Call to order the September 18th, 2024 Londonderry, New Hampshire Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. I think we'll start with introductions.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Mike Malaguti, I am the town manager.
Irene Macarelli, I'm a voting member.
Brendan O'Brien, voting member.
Mitchell Feig, voting member.
Chris Moore, alternate member.
And I just want to give you some information about the procedures of how the meeting typically proceeds. The clerk will read each case into the record. The applicant will then make his or her presentation. The board then addresses the applicant. There may be questions, there may be follow-up, there may be anything related to the application. The board will then ask for anyone in favor who's in the audience to speak. Then those opposed to the application will have an opportunity to speak. The applicant has an opportunity to rebut whatever the opposition says, to answer any questions they may have. And then the opposition has an opportunity to respond to that as well. It's important, obviously, it doesn't look like there's many people here, but if there is some opposition, that any conversation about an application goes through the board. So that means that the applicant speaks to the board and whoever's opposing an application speaks to the board as well. After the public's had an opportunity for input, the board can have any additional questions they might have for the applicant. And then the case is taken under advisement. The board will deliberate, and the board will reach a decision. You don't have to wait for a decision tonight. You're obviously free to do so, but you can call tomorrow after 10 a.m. The town clerk should have that information. If not, feel free to wait tonight because a decision will be made tonight, one way or the other. Those who wish to speak, if you're presenting, have to sit at that table right there. The microphone there is specifically for the applicant. And it's important that you state your name and your address before you start speaking. Anyone who's opposing or in favor of an application can go to that microphone, the stand-up microphone there, and they also have to give their name and address before they start speaking. One thing to keep in mind, please make sure your cell phones are off or muted. It's just something that it's obviously a distraction if something like that comes up. I believe the first order of business is approving the minutes from the August 21st, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion in that regard?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 21st, 2024 meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Is there any report from the town council liaison? It appears the answer is no. Is there a regional impact determinations for the two cases tonight?
None this evening.
Can someone make a motion to accept the regional impact determination, please?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the regional impact.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Another thing to keep in mind just before we get to the public hearing of the cases, the board typically has 5 voting members. Tonight you'll see there's only 4 of us. In a minute, we're going to appoint Chris to be a voting member tonight. So you'll need to still get 3 of the 4 members of the board who are here tonight to pass. So you typically would be able to get 3 out of 5, but tonight, because there's only 4 people here, you get 3 out of 4. So when you come up to the microphone, if you'd like to continue until next month when you may have 5, and then you only have to get 60% of the board, you can feel free to do that. Tonight, you'd have to get 3 out of 4, which is 75%. Obviously, there's 1 fewer person to get. But that's just something to keep in mind. I understand you have a question. When you come up to a public hearing, you can ask it.
Oh, okay. I'll write it down.
Do we need a motion to appoint?
No motion, it's at the discretion of the chair.
Okay. So I'd like to appoint Chris as a voting member tonight. So all 4 members will be voting. I think that's it, correct?
That's all I can think of.
Okay, good. So, case number 9/18/2024-1, a request for a variance from LZO section 4.2.1.3.c.1 to allow an encroachment of 3 feet and 6 inches into the 40-foot front setback for a front porch. The parcel is located at 56 Mantor Mill Road in the AR1 zoning district, tax map 18, lot 13-21. Daniel T. Trainer and Jacqueline Michelle Trainer, owner and applicant, will be presenting tonight. Feel free to come up to the microphone.
Good
Hello.
evening, everyone. My name is Dan Trainer from 56 Mansion Mill Road, and requesting a variance for a front porch that encroaches 3.5 feet into the 40-foot front setback. I believe that it's a minor encroachment that keeps the spirit of the ordinance in place. It's a common structure on a lot of homes. I don't think it's any safety concerns in the neighborhood, or I don't believe it would detract from any homes in the neighborhood. There's other homes with farmers porches. It would add value to our home and potentially add value to other homes in the neighborhood as a result. Other homes in the neighborhood have a farmer's porch, and so if the variance wasn't approved, it would kind of create a hardship for me to add a common structure to the home that other folks in the neighborhood and the town are able to do. So I'd request approval for a variance.
May I ask, did you bring your application tonight?
I did not.
Okay. Can you just go through the 5 points of law for us?
Yes, I have it on my phone, if that's all right if I...
Oh, that's
Go
fine.
through.
I have a paper copy for you, or I
Okay.
think if you have it on your phone, that's fine as well.
Okay. So I do not believe the porch will be contrary to public interest. The proposed porch will not negatively impact the public interest. It will be a modest extension of the existing structure, maintain the aesthetic character of the neighborhood. The porch will enhance the visual appeal of the home and will not obstruct the view or create safety concerns or otherwise interfere with the use and enjoyment of the neighborhood properties. Variance request is minimal and is necessary due to the unique shape of the lot. The spirit of the ordinance is still observed to ensure the property maintains a certain distance to the street and preserve the open feel of the neighborhood to avoid overcrowding. Given that our lot's frontage curves inward, the proposed variance is minimal and reasonable accommodation that still aligns with the ordinance's intent. The variance will allow for construction of the porch that enhances the property's usability and aesthetics without leading to overcrowding or disrupting the neighborhood's character, thereby preserving the neighborhood character and safety. Substantial justice is done. Granting this variance will allow us to make reasonable use of our property in a way that is consistent with many other properties in the neighborhood that have farmers' porches. Denying the variance would impose an unnecessary burden on us due to the unique shape of our lot without any corresponding benefit to the public. The minor encroachment beyond the setback does not harm public interest, and therefore granting the variance is fair and just decision. The values of surrounding properties will not be diminished. The addition of a well-designed front porch is likely to enhance the value of our property, which in turn can have a positive effect on the surrounding properties. The porch will be in harmony with the architectural style of the neighborhood, contributing to the overall cohesive and attractive streetscape rather than detracting from it. Little enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. The unique curvature of our lot's frontage creates a situation where the strict enforcement of the setback requirement would prevent us from enjoying the same property enhancements as our neighbors. Unlike other properties, our lot shape restricts the usability building area to the front. So little enforcement of the 40-foot setback would prevent us from constructing a functional front porch, which is a common and desirable feature for residential neighborhoods. Proposed use is reasonable and does not violate the spirit of the ordinance, making the hardship unnecessary. Therefore, granting the variance is necessary to enable a reasonable and equitable use of our property. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
consideration.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Just looking at it, it looks like there's only a small portion that actually goes into the setback. Is the entire 36-foot length going into that setback, or is it just the portion in front of the front door that juts out a little bit farther?
It should just be the portion that jets out. So it's going to be 8 feet by 36, and then where the front door is, it's going to bump out another 2 feet or so.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not, the whole porch won't be within the 40-foot setback.
So the jut out is about 2 feet?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it, okay, is the distance to the front, to the setback different depending on where on the front of the house you are?
Yes.
So like, what's the closest to it? Do you know, or you might not know off the top of your head? I couldn't answer the question.
Well, they requested 3 feet 6 inches.
Right, I'm just curious how much, you know, like if it's, because 2 feet means that some more probably goes in.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know if this will answer the question, but on page 9 of the PDF, it looks like there's 44 feet 4 inches to where the house is now, that jut out, and then it shows 36 feet 4 inches, which is to the point that he said was jutting out from the front door, which would make sense with the 8-foot porch. So is it fair to say that the most that the porch goes into the setback is that 3 feet 8 inches, is it? 3 feet 6 inches, I apologize.
Yes.
That's okay.
So on that drawing, it does say 36 feet 4 inches is the distance from the front of the lot to the closest point. That would make it 3 feet 8 inches into the setback. Make sure that when we approve it, that you're not coming back for 2 inches or something like that. You know, if obviously we just want to make sure it's accurate. Do you know if it is accurate that the drawing that's indicated here is 36 inches, or sorry, 36 feet 4 inches?
The drawing should be accurate. That was from the builder.
Okay.
Well, I would note, I think that the request, they write 3.6 feet as opposed to 3 feet 6.
So that would make some sense. In here, it says 36 feet point, it looks like a point next to that 4. So that would be, yeah, so we're talking about, you know, a tenth of an inch or
It looks accurate, I
One
guess,
to 2
they're
inches
both,
max,
1.2, yeah.
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 I had one question. I did drive through the neighborhood. Boy, you're way up in the north. And do most of your neighbors have enough space to do that? I didn't see a lot of those on your neighbors. Are you closer than most to the frontage?
I would say they're all relatively the same, but I think if some of them were built from the builder with a front porch, then they probably just took that into consideration. And then I think obviously a lot of them have more of a standard, like kind of they hit the road directly, so they have like a more of a,
Yeah, because
you know.
of the curve of the circle.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it was in the circle. Okay.
but I if that was a mistake on the amount of variance I need to have based off of the drawing, I obviously would like to adjust that now and not have to come back or something later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did write 36.4 feet, so
Yeah.
that would be.
So I think here, you're right, because it says in your application will intrude 3.6 feet. So I think if you, going by that, 3.6 is consistent with the 34.4.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think if it's as presented, you should be fine based on the drawing. If the drawing and your application are consistent in that regard, so I think you should be
Yeah,
okay.
we won't use inches, we'll say.
Yeah, we'll do the point.
That makes sense.
Any other questions from the board? Take it out to the public. Anyone in favor? Looks like no. I will note that there is a handwritten note from, let me just make sure I get their name correct. So there's a handwritten note on, it's essentially the notice related to this variance request, and it has star, we live at 55 Mantor Mill Road and are fine with our neighbors adding a porch, and it looks like Mark and Pat Scanura is the name, and that'll just be marked as Exhibit A in the file.
Okay.
Anyone opposed? Again, it looks like nobody, so I'll take it back to the board. Any further questions for the applicant?
No?
Is there anything else you want to say before we go into deliberations?
Nope, just thanks for the consideration.
All right, so I will close the public portion now, and we'll go into deliberations. Does anyone think we need to hash anything out?
I'm okay.
I'm good.
I'm good too.
Okay. Granting the variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest because?
I would say would not.
Would not.
I would say would not.
I would say would not.
No threat to the health, safety, or the general welfare.
Not alter the character of the neighborhood.
Right, I can never remember, is one
Yeah,
character of the
which
neighborhood or
one's
is
which?
two?
One's the character.
Thank you, I always reverse them.
Does not alter the character, yeah.
Spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed because,
I believe it would be observed.
I agree, and that's no threat to health, safety, and the public welfare.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Granting the variance would or would not do substantial justice because,
I believe it would do substantial
It would.
justice.
I
Loss to the
agree.
applicant would be greater than the
Agree.
harm to the general public.
I agree.
for the following reasons, the values of surrounding properties would or would not be diminished.
Would not.
I agree.
Agree.
Adding a porch wouldn't.
Yep, would not increase the surrounding property values.
Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because A1, there is or is not a substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because,
I believe there is not.
I agree, I think between the location of the
circle.
house and the fact that it's on that curve,
Yeah,
I think that makes the property unique.
I agree.
I would agree.
Proposed use is or is not a reasonable one because, I'd say it is,
Porches
porches
are
are reasonable.
Yep, I agree.
Comments, restrictions, including time frame restriction. I wonder if we should include, just to avoid any issues, not to encroach more than 3.6 feet.
I would say that's, I mean, you
Okay.
could say as presented,
presented,
three
yeah.
point 6
Yeah,
feet.
because
As-
here
yep.
it has it different.
Right, so I'll say as
Yeah.
presented, not to encroach more than 6 feet. In case number 9/18/2024-1, I'd like to make a motion to grant the request for a variance from LZO section 4.2.1.3.c.1 with the condition that the variance is granted as presented, not to encroach more than 3.6 feet.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? In case number 9/18/2024-1, the request for a variance was granted, as presented with the porch not to encroach more than 3.6 feet.
Wonderful.
You're all
Thank you all.
set. Thank
Have
you.
a great one.
Thank you.
Case number 9/18/24-2, request for a variance from LZO section 5.14.b to allow a 6-foot fence within the 40-foot setback. Parcels located at 286 High Range Road in the AR1 zoning district, tax map 11, lot 81. Dan and Alexa O'Neill, owner and applicant. Who's presenting?
Dan O'Neill, 286 High Range. What's up, guys? How are you? And
Uh,
women, ladies.
I just wanted to remind you, I know you had a question previously when I mentioned that you need to get 3 out of the 4. Is there something we can answer for you before you
I
start?
just didn't know if it was more beneficial to come back with, was it like more you guys or less? I just didn't know, like,
So I guess the answer to that is you need to get 3 either way. So
Yeah.
if you want to wait to have 5, that's fine. If you want to go forward tonight and try to get 3 out of 4, that's fine as well.
I guess it was,
We can't make an official recommendation.
if
to
I
come
got shot down tonight, I wouldn't be able to come back.
Correct.
That's
You get
Okay,
one
so it's
shot.
a one and done.
That's right.
All right,
without substantial changes, yes.
okay. That answered my question.
So would you like to go forward tonight, or would you like to wait until next month? when we
Tonight
might have
sounds
a board?
fine.
All right.
Okay. So do you want to present?
I didn't bring my list of questions, but yeah, when I can.
Okay.
Mike has an extra one.
Yeah. And you can feel free to give us a little bit of an explanation up top, and then go through the 5 points of law, or you can go straight to the 5 points of law, whichever you prefer.
Well, my explanation would be that, as we all know, High Range is a very busy road in Londonderry. I have 2 young children, and I have a dog, and they like to play in the front yard, and cars come flying down that road. Police are often pulling cars over right in my front yard. So that is a point of emphasis to try to give a little protection for my kids and my family. Also, Coventry is directly across the street from my house. Early morning, late at night, there's a lot of cars, lights shine right through all my windows. So just looking for a little more privacy from the light in the early morning and late hours. And basically, that's the gist of it. So I guess I can get to the,
Yep, if you could just read what's from your application, the 5 points of law, that'd be great.
Yep. Oh, here we go. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest. I wrote it would not be. It's a fence for light and sound barrier, and it's really the only people who could see it are the people that are right across to the right of me. My neighbors directly beside me can't. It wouldn't impede on any of their vision or any safety for anybody in my neighborhood. Number 2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed. Yes, the fence will be on my property, back out of the way of any public or oncoming traffic. Will not be in the way of any of the neighbors or anybody's view from seeing the road or anywhere past. Number 3, substantial justice is done. The fence is going to be probably 20 feet back from the road, and it's not going to block any of the cars. It's to block cars and sounds, and I don't think that anybody will be hurt from it. And the value of surrounding properties are not diminished. I don't believe that they will be. It's a fence in my yard and just blocking the light and sound from coming in. And 5, literal enforcement of provisions of ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. The fence is not going to hurt anybody else and would only bring more property value to my house and just more privacy, safer for my kids, not bothering any of my neighbors or anybody in the public driving down the road. And B, in the subpart, are not established unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist, and if owning special conditions to the property, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, my house is directly across this, like I said, from Coventry. When cars are pulling out and pulling in, the lights shine directly to my windows in the fall and winter time, especially, even in the summertime. So, just looking for a little privacy and a little, make my yard a little safer for the kiddos. That's about it.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I didn't see an actual proposal for where the fence would be put in.
I didn't have it on the paper here.
I looked through the application
I
and
thought
seen a few satellite pictures, but I didn't see where
yeah, I
the
was trying to. I didn't have the Google Street one. I don't think it printed very well, but I had drawn a red line across it right at the front. It would be right in front of that. Probably about. It's going to be about 20 feet back from the road.
for us a little bit difficult to tell where exactly 20.
I know. I photocopied the pictures.
There's one with a white line on it,
Yeah, there is.
but that doesn't look like 20 feet to me.
Do you know how far from the setback you're asking to put the fence?
The step like the 40 foot.
Right, how far into the 40-foot are you encroaching?
Is the 40 feet exactly from the edge of the road or from the edge of, like,
So I don't know the answer to that in your case. I don't think it always is.
It's not usually.
Usually there's a right of way.
Yeah.
yeah, that kind of that white line that's there, that doesn't show exactly. I don't know if I could, like, the Google Earth Street View, I don't know if that would even be better, but, oh, you got it right there on the top left side. That bush that runs to the left of that telephone pole, to the right side of that picture, that would be in front of the fence. I want to go right behind that and across.
So this would be just in front of the fence,
Yeah.
and the fence would come straight across there.
That is correct.
So that's, where's the telephone pole? It's hard to find. That's the telephone pole, I think. That is probably the.
Yeah,
bush
that
that's probably,
tree-
like right about there.
Yep. Right into my front yard, well, front lawn.
Now, just to be clear too, the zoning ordinance that you're here to get exemption or relief from is not that you can't have a fence, it's the height of the fence.
So a 4-foot fence would be, that it kind of, if you can see from the street view again, it kind of rolls down a little bit on a hill.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling, like to the left of my driveway, that drops down a little bit.
4-foot fence wouldn't do much.
I think the car lights would go right over it. So, just looking for a little privacy and a little
So you're
safety.
proposing a 6-foot fence?
Yeah, just a 6-foot white vinyl fence, that's all I'm looking for. Just to the driveway over.
Hey, Mike, I read these things a lot, and then I read them again, and I'm not sure. If he would have put a 4-foot fence, could he go all the way to the end of the encroachment if it was just 4 feet?
That is correct.
But with 6 feet, he
Correct.
can't enter
You just
that.
can't go to inside the right of way.
Right.
Correct,
Yep.
correct. Okay. So it's the fact, so he could go pretty close to the road with
Yep.
4 feet, but, okay.
Any other questions from the board? So I just have one. So have you done the math on where, exactly how far you're gonna want the fence into the encroachment?
I had a company come out and measure it and give me a price and everything already for it. So I had them measure it right behind that tree from my driveway left all the way to the end of the yard.
Doesn't really matter though.
Did they do, did they do, did they tell you how far how far you were going into the 40-foot encroachment, or what did
He was the one who brought up to me that I might want to come to the town and talk about the fence.
Okay.
He's like, I've done other ones in Londonderry and that they've been taken out before, and so he's like, I just don't want to see that happen to you. So
Yeah.
before you pay the money, do your due diligence, go to the town, see what they have to say. So
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're usually interested in like putting a location, like since it's 6 feet and therefore it's not standard, we don't want to, I mean,
not
I'm
an
talking for
encroachment,
everyone. But I'm saying, I don't know that I'd want it right up against the road at 6 feet. So I personally would like to see some sort of set number that can't be exceeded.
Yeah.
could you zoom in on that Google Earth, the Street View one? It would be like almost virtually impossible for me to put it up on the street with all that over, like fescue and overgrown and the trees. So I'm gonna go right behind that tree line. So I think when I measured it, it was probably about 17 to 20 feet from the road, from that white line of the road back.
Just be mindful that, I mean, and this is not perfect imagery in terms of the distances and accuracy, but this suggests that,
That's a little closer than it would be. It'd be actually behind that tree. You're cutting that top tree right in half almost, so it's gonna be back a little further than that.
Right,
actually.
Probably 5 feet back from that, but that's probably 35 feet into the 40-foot setback. Because the actual telephone pole's right here,
Yeah.
then there's a wire coming off of it into your yard, and that wire probably ends right about here.
Yep.
So if you're right behind that, you're probably looking maybe 5 to max 10 feet beyond the encroachment. That's from the street, but
Yeah, I measured back. Yeah, it'll be a little before.
yeah, probably within 30 feet of the road and probably 30 plus feet into the setback.
Sounds about right.
Any other questions from anyone from the board?
Yeah, I have one more. Why do you need it to be so close? Like, what made you choose the spot you chose?
We actually play up in that portion of my front yard. We have a badminton net set up there currently, and I throw the football, wiffle ball, all the stuff with the kids. So
Okay.
just the cars come literally once they come through that four-way at Litchfield. Some of them just hammer like, and the cops. I've had cop lights in my yard shining through my windows at whatever time they pull people over through that intersection as well. So just looking for a little privacy and noise, something to kill the noise.
One other question. What other alternatives have you considered? So hedges, other tree line, things like that, that could potentially cut that light without needing a fence put in?
I was thinking that, the money for like abrevieties and the amount of digging and that work that goes into growing stuff like that is out of my price range, but the fence was the cheapest option to give me the most privacy and keep the kiddos safe pretty much is
Okay.
where I'm coming from.
And are you fencing in the whole yard, or are you just putting a fence
Just
at the
straight
front?
across.
Just straight across?
Yeah, from the driveway over. So the driveway will be open. Anything to the right of the driveway that from that picture, street view will be open, and
Right.
just from that bush over.
Okay, so the telephone pole looks like it's got a wire coming down from it.
The fence is gonna be behind that?
It goes straight back into that tree, that wire.
The wire ends just past the bush, so it would be just past the wire.
Just past the
The
wire?
wire's into the bush, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Whatever.
It has like one of those yellow sleeves that
Yep.
come down to protect it
Yep.
on the back.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
And it would go all the way across basically your front property line?
It was 103 feet.
Okay.
The guy quoted me for the fence.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. Anyone in the audience in favor? Seeing none. Anyone in the audience opposed? Seeing none. Okay. Any other questions from the board? I imagine not. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before we start deliberations?
No, I appreciate you guys having me for your time.
Thank you. All right, so we'll close the public portion now, and I think, do we want to hash this one out a little bit?
Yeah,
I think we do a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think.
My
the-
biggest concern is the spirit of the ordinance.
Well, I think that it's just a matter of, how far into the how far into the setback are we talking? Because I don't think that, that's kind of the issue is, where does the setback start? Because do we know where that right-of-way ends?
Yeah, seemingly we don't.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the right of way?
So, opening it up back up just to respond. The right-of-way, each road has a right-of-way kind of on the sides typically. So your property line doesn't start right at the road.
It's like 10 or 15 feet if I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it depends, but it just
Depends on the road.
Yeah.
Some roads were meant for expansion too, so High Range I don't think was one of those, but
I don't think so.
the snow plows, the mill, there's a bunch of different public services that do need access to basically your frontage, and there could potentially be expansion to roads in the future as well. So not all roads are the boundary of your property line. Most actually aren't.
Right, like those poles with
telephone
electricity are
poles.
almost certainly in the right of way.
Right,
Yep.
right.
So just beyond that, I don't know that it ends right there.
Yeah, that's the
It may
thing.
be inclusive of that wire because
Right,
the suspension wire would have to be accessed by public.
right.
It-
So-
they can definitely access the if you look at the driveway and how far back, if you were standing on the side of that telephone pole and how far back that bush really is from that telephone pole, it's a significant amount of space that they can.
Well, I was gonna say, what I think what I wanna do, I don't know if others do, is I'd wanna have some limit, and then I would feel like we were arbitrarily setting a limit to you.
Agreed.
And I'm not sure if if that's something you wanna do a little more research on, you can come back and, next month and say, yeah, we're gonna go here, it's out of the right of way. If not, my fears will set an amount and it won't work for you, if we're in fact gonna approve it. So I don't know what you'd rather do.
So like come back with a picture where I'd put the fence.
So if you came back and you basically were able to say, okay, the right-of-way is here, and I want to be, 10 feet or 12 feet or 15 feet away from the right-of-way. That way, if we're guessing right now, not guessing, but
Yeah.
if we're estimating right now, we don't want to put you in a spot where you build the fence and we've said you can be, 8 feet back or 10 feet back from the right of way, and you're actually 7 feet back from the right of way, because we don't know where that is. So I think from my perspective, if you came back next month with information about the right of way and kind of exactly how far away, that would be very helpful for us.
Okay.
So, is that something, so we can ask him to move to continue.
Yeah, and I just want to flag one additional issue. So you had asked about the operation of the front setback here. I'm now second guessing what I told you, because, we have the minimum setback distance for structures, which is 40 feet, and that is contained in 4.2.1.3. A fence, the definition of structure is interesting, because it says that a structure is anything that's essentially attached to the ground. Then it accepts certain things from the definition of structure. Then we have a specific section that deals with fences. And it says, it talks about fences located in the front yard, and it says that it defines the front yard as essentially the property line back to the 40-foot setback line. Why I'm a little bit confused is because 5.14 seems to envision a fence, which is a structure under that definition, in the front yard. However, the operation of the setback requirement would preclude it. So I think we have an inconsistency here that I at least, I think it would be beneficial to get maybe a legal opinion on.
Okay,
Well,
I agree.
yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I think that the spelling out in 5.14.b does cover fences in that front yard pretty well.
In general, what I would say that as a general matter, a specific provision should control a general provision. And I think that's probably what the analysis is
Right.
here. But where the board is wrestling with, it seems a little bit incongruous that we have a 6-foot fence so close to the road. I do
Right.
think that it's worth maybe getting an opinion on.
Okay.
When I read that section, I read it 3 times, and it still wasn't clear to me what it exactly said.
I agree. I think it leaves something to be desired in terms of clarity.
So do we need to ask him to do we need to make a motion to continue? Can we just grant him a continuance? What's the best way to go about
So
that?
if he's agreeable to continuing it, I think that'd be ideal. And then
Okay,
a
great.
motion
Yeah,
should
we
follow.
all seem like we need a little bit more information on
Yep.
both
Yeah,
sides, so
absolutely.
I agree.
The
Yeah,
biggest
okay,
thing,
yeah.
I mean, right in the the regulations, it says that they're number one and most importantly, all private fences are prohibited within the public right of way.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we don't know where that public right of way is.
Right.
The public right of way being the setback from the street,
So,
Being what the town technically owns that is past the street.
correct.
so the road over like that,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we don't know where that starts and whether you are trying to put it technically in that or not. So I wouldn't feel comfortable voting on something until we knew that it certainly wasn't in the public right of way.
And that's public knowledge. I can call the town hall to get that.
We could, yes.
sure-
We will come prepared with some additional information about where exactly that right of way. It's going to sometimes be a little difficult, but we will,
So
yes.
if I come up with a picture where I want the fence and
And we know exactly where the right of way ends on your property, that will give us a lot more information.
I'll
That's
do
right.
my
Okay.
call about the
Right.
town setback as well, the road setback as well.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you, Mr. O'Neill. So
Do
for,
we need to grant the?
I don't know, do we need to grant or can we just do it?
I would make a motion,
Okay,
just
yeah.
somebody make a motion.
be here.
Somebody make a motion to continue, please?
I'd like to make a motion to continue case number 09-1824-2 to the next meeting, which is on October,
Ways out,
The
isn't
third Wednesday of October.
it? That's one way to do it, yeah. 16th.
October 16th.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? None. So the motion to continue was granted. Did you get that date, October 16th?
Yeah, I'm writing it down as we
Okay,
speak.
great.
Thank you
And
very
it's at
much.
7 o'clock and it's at the same location.
Thank you very much.
Okay. No, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yes. Do you guys get to go home now too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, appreciate it. Have a good night.
I appreciate it, guys.
Nope, thank you.
See you in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Couple of weeks, yeah.
Okay. Any communications, miscellaneous, anything else?
Nothing for me.
Okay.
Yep,
Nothing
nothing.
from anyone else? No other business? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Any second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.